And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Cricket on Forever Sport. And today we are talking about, we're going to talk about everything cricket in the next half an hour. Welcome to the weekly cricket news show. And lots to talk about in the next sort of 20-25 minutes with a lot of things happening across sort of South African cricket right now, actually, as opposed to in a couple of days' time when it comes to like the Proteas and stuff like that. But we are currently within our last round of 4-day series for South Africa. England has just lost to Bangladesh. It was yesterday, which is quite an interesting result. We've had one of the best test matches, almost ever results this week, where New Zealand won by 8 wickets. I think it won about 2 wickets, or it was yesterday. But on the last, needed one running off the last ball to win that in that test match yesterday against Sri Lanka. We're talking about the Proteas that take on West Indies. That series starts on Thursday. 3-match ODI series taking place down at the coast in East London. And we're also going to be talking about the 4-day series and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about in the next sort of 20-25 minutes. We've got a poll running which says, do you think that we will beat the West Indies in the ODI series? Please go and vote on that poll and let me know what you think is going to happen. What sort of changes you might see in the squad and stuff like that. And it's very interesting, the ODI series, because there are two different squads. That we are actually announcing, we have announced for the series to. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's talk about the squad, shall we? So first of all, there have been two changes to the squad. Because Vian Mulder and Keshav Maharaj have both been ruled out of the squad with injury. So we also saw that Keshav Maharaj pulled his or did his Achilles basically yesterday. On Saturday rather, was it? Yeah, Saturday. Celebrating a wicket, whilst Vian Mulder has been ruled out with a side strain. And as a result, Wayne Parnell has come into the side for Vian Mulder, and Tabraiz Shamsi has been added instead of Keshav Maharaj. So if we look at the ODI squad for the first two ODIs, it is as follows. Temba Bavuma as captain, Gerald Coetzee is in the squad, Quinton de Kock, Tony de Zorzi, Bjorn Fontaine, Reza Hendricks, Asanda Magala, Lungi Ngidi, Ryan Rickleton, Wayne Parnell, Andile Petlaquire, Tabraiz Shamsi, Tristan Stubbs, Lizard Williams, and Rassie van der Dussen. So some big names missing: no Anif Nokir, no Khisro Bada. They've both been given the ODI series off, so they can have an opportunity to rest. And then after the first two games, the likes of Marco Jansen, Heinrich Klaassen, Dave Miller, who else is it? This I think it's 5 people that are joining up. Something else as well. A couple of players are going to then be sort of joining up with the squad. Aidan Markham is another one. That's number 4. And number 5 was... Who is it now? I can't actually remember now. Yeah, so those players joining up after the first two ODIs for the final ODI, and then we're a very different T20 squad and stuff. So in terms of the lineup we might see come Thursday, and we'll sort of start with sort of a bit of a batting order. The big sort of players we need to sort of fill spaces. Obviously, the bowling line's going to look quite interesting. The batting lineup as well. With the likes of no Aidan Markham, no Dave Miller, for example. So one imagines we're going to see Temba Bavuma and Quinton de Kock up top. Personally, I'd like to see Reza Hendricks in at 3. I think we're going to potentially see Ryan Rickleton with the gloves. We could potentially see then Tony de Zorzi as well. So that would sort of make up your 1 through sort of 5, 6. You got Rassie van der Dussen actually to add in, yeah. So Rassie van der Dussen at 4, potentially Rickleton at 5. No Heinrich Klaassen, which is quite a big gap to be filled, and I think that'll be interesting to see if that gap would have been filled by Vian Mulder had he been fit. So I wouldn't surprise me as well if you maybe see Ryan Rickleton and Tony de Zorzi into the side, given the fact that we are quite a few batsmen short. But the bowling line's going to be very interesting. First of all, I think Lungi Ngidi has to play. I think that Tabraiz Shamsi will play, Wayne Parnell plays, and Sanda Magala plays. So interesting to then see, do we then go with Andile Petlaquire? Do we go 2 all-rounders? Or does Tristan Stubbs going to come into the side as in that sort of finishing role, maybe ahead of Proteas Squad, for example? You have Tristan Stubbs coming in at 6. You could then have Magala, or you could have a Petr Choir in at 7, or Bjorn Fontaine at 7, Magala at 8, for example. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how all sort of the makeup of the squad. What I do think is I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a Ryan Rickleton debut, because a Tristan Stubbs debut in ODI cricket, because we need that finishing role, and with no 100 class of Dave Miller, he would be the sort of the obvious go-to. But I also think Tony Dazors is quite highly rated by these coaches, and had a very good one-day cup. So yeah, very interesting to see if he does play. So I think that top 4 will probably be the likes of a Temba Buma, Quinton de Kock, Rusty van der Dussen, either in a 3 or 4. And then you're going to have Reza Hendricks probably ahead of him. So I'll be interested to see what they do with Reza Hendricks. So for me, I'm probably going to go Bavuma de Kock up front, then Reza Hendricks, then Rusty van der Dussen. I'll then be probably having Ryan Rickleton in at 5. Tristan Stubbs is going to be my 6 at this stage. At 7, who are we going to have? See, the thing is, at 7, is you could, for example, depends on how many all-rounds going to go. Because at 7, you could already be going into the likes of a, Wayne Parnell, for example. You could also be having Bjorn Fontaine, who knows how to hold a bat. Sasanda Magala, for example, knows how to hold a bat as well. Could be coming in sort of there. And then you can go Lungi Ngidi and Tabrei Shamsi. Now, in terms of your bowling options there, you've only got 5 bowlers, and nobody else who can really. I mean, Tristan Stubbs maybe can bowl a couple of overs, but you don't really want to see it. But I suppose you could see Reza Hendricks bowling some overs. So yeah, very interested to sort of see exactly who's going to be what. So you've got the Cock who'll keep. So Ryan Rickleton, if he plays, will be playing as a batsman. And so for me, I'm probably leaving out Tony Dazorzi as the batsman. That's being left out. Just in terms of form and stuff like that, I think that Rickleton's been scoring a lot more runs. We've been scoring a lot of runs regularly, so I'd like to see him given an opportunity. But yeah, for me, I worry a little bit about the batting. If Wayne Parnell's coming in at 7, it's quite high. I think Vivian Mulder probably would have played actually in terms of extending that batting lineup. So you can go and do the Petr Choir, who is, also a recognised all-rounder. Alternatively, you go, I think you're going to have to. So it's either going to be Wayne Parnell at 7, or Andy Petr Choir. In theory, you'd think that Petr Choir almost would be the preferred option, given the fact that he was in the squad ahead of Wayne Parnell. But I do think that we've now lost a batting all-rounder, and therefore we've called up, Wayne Parnell, and I think that he offers probably more with the bat at the moment than maybe Petr Choir does. But again, very interesting to see what Rob Walters' idea is. That for my team here has 2 spinners in Bjorn Fontaine and Tabrei Shamsi, which I think is about right. I think it's a nice left arm orthodox and the left arm chance, 2 left arm spinners, which is going to be quite interesting. But you've got strike bowlers in there, you've got death bowlers in there. So the big sort of questions will be who bats 7, and who's going to be that additional batsman to the likes of de Kock, Hendricks, Van der Dussen. It's basically Tony Dazors, Tristan Stubbs, and Ryan Rickleton vying for 3 spots. So it's going to be interesting to see how that also that comes through. I think obviously when a couple of players come back, I think Aiden Markin goes back into that side, probably into the middle order. I think Marco Jansen will fill that number 7 spot. I think Hunter Klaas and Dave Miller will be your 5-6. So there's not really much space, to be honest, for too many players. So you're probably going to go Bavuma de Kock up front, Rusty van der Dussen at 3, you're going to get Aiden Markham at 4, Dave Miller at 5, Hunter Klaassen at 6. You could then have Marco Jansen at 7, for example. Bjorn Fontaine at 8, Sander Magala at 9, and you could then have Ngidi and Denzel Williams if you wanted, for example, or you wanted to have Tabrei Shamsi. I do think that obviously Aiden Markham obviously a lot more with the ball than some other players like a Stubbs who has to bowl, even Reza Hendricks if he has to bowl. So it's nice to have him as a genuine bowling option, which is why I do think that he probably makes the side. So there are lots of different things that we can sort of tweak. The first 2 games are done in East London at Buffalo Park. That's on Thursday and Saturday, and then they move to Potchefstroom where they're playing on Tuesday. So down the coast, you know, you probably will tend to look at picking two spinners. Although these days in white ball cricket, spinners have become so important, especially somebody like a left arm orthodox spinner who really sort of tie down an end, and then you've got your left arm leg spinner who, yeah, will be very much a strike bowler. Will be looking to try and pick up wickets, and that's what kind of Shanti needs to do. But he has also been guilty of being quite expensive. I'm very surprised George Linder doesn't make either of their sides, to be honest. I think that he's someone that we saw during the SA20 still has a lot to offer as an all-rounder. You know, I think he holds a bat very well, strikes it very well, very much a big hitter. I think he'd be a very useful middle order batsman, and can bowl in the new ball, can bowl in the middle overs as well. So he seems to have almost been relegated to the side, which is a bit weird because I don't know quite how he went from being so important to the Proteas side. I mean, he used to open the bowling in the T20s, and he was one of the first teams on the team list for the white ball side for a couple of years, especially the T20 side. And now seems to sort of lost his way a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think for me, what I want to see out of the series, I want to see what Rob Walters wants to play. I want to see a brand. I want to see a culture reset. I want to see an aggressive nature. I want to see fearless cricket. That's what we've heard. The fact that they want to play positive, aggressive cricket, which is what England did, and they won a World Cup. And I think we want to try and sort of follow that mold. And we already saw Temba Bavuma when he scored that brilliant 100 against England, batting with far more fluidity, batting far more aggressively. You know, I do think that, you know, between him and Quinton de Kock, Bavuma will generally not be as aggressive as Quinton de Kock, somebody who likes to strike in sort of 130 to 150. But Temba Bavuma needs to become a bit of an accumulator and almost be going at sort of one run and a ball. You know, strike at around 100. You know, 90 to 100, and I think we'll be very happy with that sort of that approach. Somebody I haven't really spoken about are the likes of Gerald Coetzee and Lizard Williams. I'd be surprised if I saw them play. I think Lizard Williams had some good moments. I'm not fully convinced about him. Gerald Coetzee as well is someone who I think the coaches really rate. I don't know if they'll rate him high enough to play ahead of the likes of, you know, you're not going to display Zongangidi, you're not going to display Sisanda Magala right now. So, you know, if we're going for a third, you know, out-and-out seamer, yes, he can hold the bat, can Gerald Coetzee, there's no doubt about it, but, you know, he's not going to be batting 7 or 8. Shouldn't be batting 7 or 8, really. So unless you're going to go, you know, drop Wayne Parnell, move Bjorn Fontaine to 7, move something Magala to 8, and then have Gerald Coetzee at 9, but for me, that's a far too short of a batting lineup. That means that if we do lose a couple of early wickets, we could put ourselves in some serious trouble. So I'm very interested to see how this team is going to line up come Thursday, because I think there are a lot of different things that we can do with the team. So yeah, let's talk about England versus Bangladesh, shall we? A 3-match T20 international series, which is not going particularly well for England. And you know, if we look at the first T20 was on when was it? 9th of March. So it was last week Thursday, with Bangladesh winning that, and they then beat them in the second T20, and then last night won again. So a complete whitewash of the T20 series by Bangladesh against England, which is not something that too many people would have really predicted, is it? So the ODI series will start on Saturday, and for the best white ball side in the world to be losing 3-0 to Bangladesh is not ideal. But I also think we need to look at the Bangladesh side, and this is a very special Bangladesh side. We look at the ODI, I mean the T20, the stats over here. I mean, Liton Das is just, he was the leading run scorer in the Test match series. Oh, in the last, he's a leading run scorer for Bangladesh in pretty much all formats, I think it is, bar ODI. So he's been really, really good for Bangladesh, and I think they're for all of a sudden, I think Bangladesh have got some match winners, which is really good to see, because they've always had some very good players, but sometimes struggling with consistency. So if we look at the T20 International Series, for example, Hedi Hassan Miraz took 4 wickets and tied with Taskin Ahmed and Jafar Archer. If we look at the run scorers, for example, Najmal Hussain Shanto scoring 144 runs and it cost us 3 innings. Josh Ballard scoring 100 there. Liton Das once again, that's you know, they're sort of premier white ball batsman at the moment. He scored 120 runs across those two. 120. Where is it gone? There we go. And 94 runs across those 3 innings and an average of 31. But good to see Bangladesh really being quite competitive, and hopefully that again a little bit like the rugby, for example, where we're seeing a whole sort of new world order where bottom teams can really compete with top teams. Hopefully, we are seeing a similar thing when it comes to cricket, and I think we are seeing Bangladesh, Sri Lanka being far more competitive, especially in home conditions. But for Sri Lanka, it wasn't enough being at home when New Zealand, claimed one of the most epic Test wins of all time, a tremendous 100 from Kane Williamson in the second innings, and they needed one run off the last ball of the game, and Neil Wagner, who had a torn hamstring as well as a sort of a slip disc in his back, went out to bat just to run one run basically, and did manage to go over it. So really, I mean, Test cricket. I mean, to think for a Test to have gone all 5 days and it come down to the last delivery of the match is exactly why Test cricket is so exciting. And I think it was a perfect sort of advertisement to exactly how good Test cricket can be, how good Test cricket should be. So big shout out to Sri Lanka and New Zealand, and some fantastic individual performances. If you look at that game, we saw a really good 87 from Kusal Mendes. We saw a half century as well from Kunaratne at the top of the order, where they posted 355 in their first innings. New Zealand then posted 373 in their first innings, thanks to predominantly a brilliant 100 from Dale Mitchell, 102 runs, supported with 67 from Tom Latham, and a very, very useful 72 from Matt Henry. All the way down the order there, to be able to contribute those sort of runs is huge. Sri Lanka were then bowled up for 302, and New Zealand needed 285 runs to win. And Kane Williamson in at number 3, 121 not out, carried his bat throughout the entire innings. Another big contribution from Dale Mitchell, 81. And then not much, to be honest, down the order, but a pretty important single being run by Neil Wagner. In terms of the bowling performances across that match, Blair Tickner for New Zealand taking 4 in the third innings. Fernando was probably the pick of the bowlers for Sri Lanka. Tim Southey picking up a 5 in the first innings, along with Matt Henry took 4. So it was quite cool to see how sort of the spinners came in more and more as the Test match went on, as you kind of expected to. Traditional Test match, a little bit like the Proteas game versus West Indies as well, where we got to day 4 and all of a sudden the spin really started to capitalize on the conditions. But a very cool Test series there. In terms of some other cricket at the moment, as I said, there is some CSA 4-day stuff happening right now. Some very big performances. The Dolphins are very much got the Lions on the ropes. They scored 352. Sorry, this is the Warriors game. The Dolphins scored 329 in their first innings, and reply the Lions 171 for 8. So not going well there. But we did see a very good individual performance from the likes of Jordan Herman, who scored 81 in the first innings over there. Matty Britzker also continued his fine performance, 52. Diego Rossio with a 59. But I think probably the talk of all the 4-day series has got to be Sia Plaiki, who didn't really get much of an opportunity, for the Warriors. Wasn't really being bowled. In fact, he was the 6th bowler that they did choose to use. And he came in and he bowled. He took a 5-wicket haul across 3 overs, and he eventually bowled 11 overs, got 5 for 19 with 2 maidens and a economy of 1.72. So for someone who's very new to this sort of standard, I mean, former South Africa under 19 bowler is actually in the squad as a development player. Is Sia Plaiki. So really, really cool to see him get an opportunity at the Warriors. And start really make that count when he gets his chance now to play. So he's probably been the sort of the talk of the week in terms of your really noticeable performances. We saw Tando Ntini as well. I thought bowled quite well against the Lions, taking 3 there. Joshua Richards continues to look good, continues to find some runs. Noah Irvia got some runs as well, 78. Mark Ackerman coming very close to a good 100. Keegan Peterson in the runs again. Ethan Bosch continuing his form. He's also been in the runs. We also saw a maiden 50 for Deva Brevis. His first 50 in first-class cricket, which is a nice big moment for him against the Northwest. And we also saw Donovan Ferreira, for example. He's got his first class 100 last week. But yeah, Dale Brevis 56 or 64 in that innings last week. We also saw a valuable 54 from Neil Brandt at the top of the order, 71 from captain Sid Makanya in that Titans game, and a 40 from Aya Gramane. Sidney Mutusami, by the way, has returned from the Proteas. He took 6 wickets in that first innings, and I think he scored a half century in his with the bat. So it looks like he's playing a lot of confidence coming out of that Test series from the Proteas, where he didn't have the best time in the one game he did play. But I suppose it's all about experience, and I think spending a couple of weeks playing Test cricket, being in and around that environment, I think does a lot of players a lot of good, and he'll be feeling a lot of confidence. Just being in the setup, just being backed to be a Test player, then when he returns back into that sort of setup there. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up there in terms of, as I said, the week to come. WPL is on every single day. Lots of stuff also happening in the PSL. And the big one for South African fans is the fact that the South Africa versus West Indies ODI series will get underway on Thursday. And in terms of Australia versus India, that series obviously lost. The last game was drawn, and that ODI series will get underway on Friday. I think it is a 3-match ODI series. It is on Friday, Sunday, and Wednesday. It is, I think it starts in Wankiti, then goes to Visakhapatnam, and then Chennai is the last game on Wednesday next week. So that's what's happening over there in India versus Australia. But we'll be back live on Thursday. We're talking a little bit about what's gone on, and hope to be able to give you a sort of live updates about what's happening in the ODI series. Until then, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven. I'll chat to you soon.